Part 20. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 191. At this time, Sugu stood in front of the garrison built under the leadership of the Prince of Wales. To be honest, he was shocked when he first saw this place. City walls, moats, castles, and lighthouses are built like sentry towers. If an uninformed person looks at it from a distance, they will definitely misunderstand that this is a castle, although it is a reduced version. How should I put it? Your garrison is like a castle. He counterattacked. We had 2 garrison houses together, and the former garrison was abandoned by us. This garrison was actually in tatters when we first came here, because it looked like a castle, so the Prince of Wales, I fell in love with it when I saw it. His fingers caressed the rough masonry like a city wall, and then he looked at the sky. At this time, the majestic and thick city wall matched with the gloomy sky, quite a bit like dark clouds pressing over the city. It's a very handsome town hall. Well, it might be raining soon. Let's go in. The first thing I saw when I walked into the town hall was a large square. After crossing the square, I immediately saw a garden planted with various trees. At this time, the garden was well taken care of. After all, counterattack was an excellent maid. It was probably conceivable that she took care of the entire affairs of the guardhouse. Although there are still a lot of fallen leaves in the place paved with stone slabs, it is probably because they have been away for so long due to the counterattack. To be honest, even though it was only a short time, Sugu was already moved by the spirit of the maid who fought back. Walking into the corridor next to the garden, Sugu saw the heavy and majestic vaults and columns that made the governor's mansion look like this. The previous admiral here was really a playful person. However, this architectural style can really be used as a reference. Tien Hao's tutelary mansion is also built in a garden style, but his own tutelary mansion is built in a regular manner. Counterattack raised his head and looked at the familiar scenery around him, motioned to look to the right and said, "Not only does the Prince of Wales like this place, fireflies, and the others also like the big windmill outside the garrison." Sugu looked around and then saw a grey windmill. The windmill was built outside the town hall, and the tattered and huge sail was spinning. He said, "The windmill is not just for looking good. If there is a windmill, there should be a mill." In fact, he didn't know much about the purpose of windmills, but he heard about them from some TV or games. He counterattacked. There used to be a village outside the townhouse. Later, because of the frequent attacks by the deep-sea ship girls, the village was moved away. Because there were no villagers left, the townhouse was abandoned only after it was attacked. Otherwise, it would have been abandoned. It will be rebuilt. Really? But where is the admiral here? The admiral here abandoned this place. Some said he was transferred to a high-ranking position. Others said he disappeared during the battle with the deep-sea ship girls. They also said that the ghosts of the fallen ship girls were lingering in this garrison. But we live here, it's been so long and I haven't seen it at all, and there is no reason for the living to be afraid of the dead. The most important thing is that the ship girl is the incarnation of heroic spirits and elves. In their words, will she turn into a ghost? Sugu said, "Anyway, those churches like to make far-fetched claims. I have also heard that some churches have revised their doctrines and said that God created the ship girl. Anyway, I don't believe it. Faith is such a thing, no matter where it is, as long as there are fears and expectations, and if you want to have sustenance, you will have faith." Saying this, Advisor Su said, "Didn't it mean that there are many people here, such as Javelin, Queen of Heaven, and destroyers like Blackback Jackal? I don't know where I went. Maybe I went on an expedition." Expeditions are actually just some tasks, just like the escort work in San Juan in the past. If such work is led by the garrison, then it is considered an expedition when the ship girl goes out. It's just that compared to the shortest 15 minutes in the game, it's more than a 24-hour expedition. Here, If an ordinary expedition wants to obtain resources, it will take at least many days, and it may take up to a month, and it may even fail. There are few channels for obtaining resources, but the consumption of ship girls is a lot. This is why many garrison houses cannot make ends meet and have no chance to build ship girls. Let's go see the Prince of Wales first. As he said this, Sugu heard a snapping sound, and then he looked at the sky, and a trace of rain fell. It's starting to rain. The rain was getting heavier and heavier, and the trees inside the castle were being beaten loudly. Sugu said, "The weather was so good in the morning, but I didn't expect it to rain. It's not accurate. The weather here is sometimes very extreme, and there will even be tornadoes on the sea. If a deep-sea ship girl happens to appear at that time, it will be the most troublesome situation." In this way, she walked all the way to the end of the corridor, stood under the eaves and stretched out her hand. The raindrops hit the middle of her palm and splashed in all directions. She said, "There is no way to hold the umbrella. Is it far there? Otherwise, let's run there. It's not far if you go directly, but you have to go directly through the flower beads and fences, and there is still a little distance if you go along the road." Sugu said, "Then just wait a moment, it shouldn't be too late." He countered, "Aren't you excited? Meeting the Prince of Wales, that's the hostess." Sugu hesitated for a moment and thought to himself, "I have so many wives that I can't finish them in a day or a week." He looked at the sky outside and said, "It's more like being a little scared than excited." "Why are you afraid?" Sugu thought for a moment and said, "So, as a husband, he abandoned his wife for such a long time, and now she suddenly comes back. I don't know what will happen, so I will definitely be scared." Counterattack stared at Sugu and said, "Master, it's not good to lie. Then it should be uneasiness." Firefly and Amethyst ran away early. After all, this is their home court. At this time, Sugu and Shifei were standing in the corridor talking. The rain was still falling, and then the rain became heavier and heavier, occasionally accompanied by lightning and thunder. There was a rumbling sound and it felt like the whole sky was shaking. Sugu said, "It looks like it will stop for a while. Then master, you can go alone. Just walk along the path from here." "Aren't you going to go? You go in alone and give the Prince of Wales a surprise. And it's raining so heavily. You might catch a cold if you get wet. I don't want you, master, to be like me, always sick and weak. I'll give you a fever hot water. I've been bumping around on the passenger ship for so long, and I haven't had a good rest." Regarding the illness mentioned by Counterattack, Sugu was somewhat clear about it, because it was clearly stated in the game that Counterattack's health was not good. However, the ship girl's illness was not caused by cold or viruses. Compared with these causes of human illness, the illness caused by the counterattack should be regarded as a malfunction of the ship's equipment, which is innate. Sugu was still hesitant and counterattacked, "Go ahead and give the Prince of Wales a surprise. Thinking about what I did, although it was not my subjective intention to hurt others, now it can be considered as hurting everyone." Sugu said, "I'm probably surprised but not happy." After saying that, he protected his head with his hands and rushed into the rain. He ran and ran, made 2 turns, then jumped up the steps, and then saw a huge crimson iron door. Here. With this thought in mind, he reached out and touched the iron door, pushed it open, and the huge iron door made a creaking sound, and then he walked in with some uneasiness. At this time, he was thinking as he walked, if he met the Prince of Wales, what should he say first? "Hello, I'm Sugu. Hello, we meet again. Sorry, Prince of Wales." Or simply say, "I'm back." There were no lights on in the room at this time, and there was a red carpet on the floor. Sugu walked and walked, and then he saw a red figure sitting behind a long table in the deepest part of the room. Before Sugu could speak, the figure in front stood up. At this moment, lightning struck down, illuminating the entire room. The Prince of Wales has a delicate appearance and a majestic chest. Her blonde hair was not pinned up like in the game's illustrations, and her long hair was left loose. At this time, she was still wearing a long red cloak. It didn't seem to be a cloak, just a blanket. The Prince of Wales at this time was probably like the scrapped sketch of the Prince of Wales that Sugu had seen on the internet and had been abandoned by the painter. I remember that I went to check it out. It was indeed a very good skin. I had been waiting for it to be installed, but in the end it was not installed. The skin was called Knight of the Garter. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 192. The raindrops fell, hitting the window eaves and knocking on the leaves. It rains heavily on such a winter day. For people who have lived here for a long time, such heavy rain is still a bit strange. Such strong winds, heavy rain, thunder, and lightning can easily cause panic among residents of nearby towns and villages, because they always believe that heavy rainy days will inevitably be accompanied by the appearance of deep-sea ship girls. In fact, there is no pattern in the appearance of deep-sea ship girls. Those who can guess the pattern must be those powerful deep-sea flagships. If possible, it is better not to meet them. Even if you might be able to communicate, even if you communicate 100%, you can only get one shot. Of course, not everyone is panic about deep-sea flagships. There are always some people who want to make fun of deep-sea flagships. For example, deep-sea Akaga's slender thighs, or deep-sea Bismarck's attractive side breasts. Of course, the most popular of deep-sea's flagships is Yamato, also known as deep-sea Yamato, and is often called a model worker. There are many similar stories, such as being robbed of a swimsuit, the emperor's new clothes, etc. However, those who hold such thoughts or are ship girls have probably never seen the horror of deep Yamato. In fact, the report from the deep-sea flagship has not been received for a long time, but the report from the deep-sea battleship has only been received. The Prince of Wales placed his palm on a document that described in detail the sighting of the deep-sea battleship. There was a time and place, and even the craters left by the deep-sea battleships on the Earth were recorded. Such crater records can be used to infer the firepower of the deep-sea battleships. The Prince of Wales leaned back on the bench at this time. The originally cold chair had been sewn with cushions by the destroyer Queen of the Sea, making it comfortable to lean on. At this time, after reading the report, she thought about it and made a plan in her mind to attack on her own when she had free time. The files were put back together, and a letter fell out of the files. At this time, she was not in a good mood to find a letter opener, and directly tore the envelope open with her fingers, and then browsed the letter from top to bottom, and then a contemptuous and mocking smile appeared on her face. That letter was an invitation, inviting me to a banquet. I had attended quite a few banquets in the past, so of course I could push them away as much as possible. But in the past, when I counterattacked, I would always leave a few invitations, saying that I couldn't refuse them all. At this time, the intention in the letter was quite obvious, and there was nothing about the invitation. However, the letter was sent at this time deliberately, and the letter was deliberately mentioned to bring a female or male companion. It was obvious that there was no counterattack during this period. The person who sent the letter was a nearby admiral. He didn't have any thoughts about her, and she knew this. On the other hand, another admiral came over several times to show his courtesy, but did not give up despite being rejected. At this moment, when she was looking at the letter, was she trying to connect herself with the admiral? The admiral was an Oriental. I don't remember his name, but his nickname was Narrowgate. I heard that I was beaten because I confessed my love to the instructor in the academy. Later someone said, "Was your head caught in the door?" Then he gave a serious explanation, saying that the main reason was that the door was too narrow. That's why he was nicknamed Zaman. Even now, no one remembers his serious name. However, the narrow gate and the narrow gate are quite appropriate. The Prince of Wales sneered, "My head was caught in the door." Then he sneered like this, put the letter down, and decisively refused. Thus the Prince of Wales went on to the remaining papers. At this time, the sound of heavy rain outside became louder and louder. She walked to the window and closed it. It was then that she noticed that the curtains were wet from the rain. Looking out the window of the room, the rain curtain became more and more dense in her field of vision. Such heavy rain was rare in winter. But even the heavy rain didn't have much to do with her. She closed the window and then returned to the long table. His fingers were tapping on the document, when lightning suddenly struck down and lit up the entire room. It is said that a person with a determined heart is fearless, but for the Prince of Wales, lightning is always just a moderator. When fighting against the deep-sea flagship, there were lightning and rainstorms everywhere. Compared with those battles with the deep-sea flagship, this was nothing but trivial things. Thinking like this, a squeaking sound suddenly came over at this moment. The Prince of Wales looked over at the door. The door was old and the hinges were rusty and unoiled. I remember trying to counterattack, but who knows if this was a deliberate sound, so I didn't do anything in the end. Until now, I can hear a distinct noise every time I open the door. In the past, few people would open the door and come in while she was working, and even if they did, they would only fight back. She likes to come in with black tea to let herself have a rest, but she likes red wine. Counterattack has been away for a long time. I calculated the time a few days ago and it seems that I should have come back long ago. So is it her? At this time, she was holding the pen and pointing it on the paper. A little carelessly, the tip of the pen poked on the table. Then I tried to continue writing, but there was only a rustling sound on the paper and no ink marks. It seemed that one of the nibs was worn out. The Prince of Wales dropped the pen on the table and whispered, "Fight back." At this time, a voice came from the other side, if the counterattack didn't come, it was me who came. That voice sounded familiar. Was it the Admiral whom I had contacted a few days ago? It's really rude to come here to care for yourself. However, when I turned my head and looked over, I saw that the figure looked very familiar, but it had obviously disappeared, so why did it appear here again? The Prince of Wales frowned. It was raining heavily outside at this time, people who had been missing for a long time suddenly appeared, and lightning lit up the room. It was indeed like the scene in the story where ghosts and apparitions appear. If you were a timid person standing here, you would probably be shocked. However, she has a firm and stubborn personality and is not afraid of ghosts and ghosts at all. She even thinks that even the ghosts of the deep sea will trample her into the ground again. At this time, she saw that the man's hair was wet from the rain and stuck to his forehead, and all his clothes were wet. He was moving his hair on his forehead as he walked. But she was never afraid of these, whether they were ghosts or whatever. At this time, lightning struck again, the sound of rain became louder and louder, and the sound of rushing covered the whole world. The figure in front got closer and closer, and his appearance became clearer and clearer. I followed and fought back. An amethyst. I found Firefly and she's been doing great. The figure paused in the distance and did not come forward. Well, hello, Prince of Wales. Someone who has disappeared for a long time. Someone who has been missing for a long time. The person who completely disappeared, as if he had never appeared before, was so disheartened by everyone in the original guardhouse and led to the disintegration of the guardhouse. Now it has appeared again. Still standing there saying hello. Hello. What's good about me? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 193. The master left to find the Prince of Wales, who then walked down the corridor to the kitchen. When I walked to the kitchen, I didn't meet anyone on the way, whether it was the destroyer Queen of Heaven or the black-backed jackal, or even the javelin, which usually ran to the kitchen to cook strange meals by itself. At this time, counterattack in the kitchen, light a fire, set up a pot, and then add water to the pot. This is hot water specially prepared for the owner. After all, I rarely took a shower when I was on the passenger ship. Even if I did, it was just casual. I guess I am not used to it by now. Lighting a fire, adding firewood, in fact no matter what kind of things she is good at, whether it is something ordinary maids do, or things that senior housekeepers do. Especially the spirit of caring for her master has been learned 100%. Although her health has never been good, she never wants her master to become ill too, such as catching a cold or something else. Then it would be most comfortable to let your master take a hot bath after getting off the boat. Counterattack carefully. Since you have to take a shower, of course you won't just forget about it. You must also prepare towels and bath towels, and even soap and shampoo. Towels and bath towels have to be checked in the warehouse, but soap and shampoo can be used by anyone. It's just that it's still raining outside, so I ran to the warehouse for a while. However, for such a large garrison, even though he had already come here, no one showed up, which was a bit embarrassing. Thinking like this, I looked out from the kitchen window soon after and saw that the rain seemed to be unable to stop for a while. I don't know what the owner and the Prince of Wales will say. I hope the process will go better. Hope so. Hope. On the other side, the Prince of Wales saw Sugu and then stood up. She was wearing less clothes, so she felt the cold weather and put the blanket around her body. As she stood up, the blanket fell to the ground. She saw the figure and heard the voice. Admiral. You're here. Aren't you missing? I had a little bit of work to do, but I'm back now. If you need to leave for something, at least tell us. Tell us, and even if you don't take anyone with you, we will wait for you inside the town hall. It was a little unexpected. Saying this, Sugu looked at the Prince of Wales, who had the impression that the Prince of Wales should be a stubborn and somewhat dogmatic woman. However, before he could think of what the specific character of the Prince of Wales should be, and what kind of character should be said. At this time, the Prince of Wales used practical actions to tell him what his character should be like, by throwing the book in his hand over. The book flew in the air like a butterfly for a few seconds and then fell to the ground. With the sound of landing, a thunder and lightning appeared. Accident? It was an accident for me too. You bastard. Sugu lowered his head and said, I'm a bastard. You are a bastard, although I don't want to care about anything. When did you give me the ring? You were wearing a swimsuit, you came back from the big break, you saw my body, and then you gave me the ring. Just because of this, give it to me. Is it just because of my body that I bought the ring? Have you ever been emotionally devoted to us? When speaking at this time, the Prince of Wales showed no shame at all. After all, her character has always been like this. A sexy figure itself is also an attractive side of women. What's more, among so many swimsuits, Helena's figure is definitely not worse than yours. I didn't even give her a ring. I wanted to think about it, but now Sugu didn't dare to say this out loud. Do you remember how many rings you have yet to give out? I remember it was 8. How many people do you want to marry? How much love have you given to them? You have prepared the rings early, haha. Sugu still didn't say anything, thinking to himself, to be honest, no one would want to get the ring unless it was a big ship or a big cannon, and it not only had to be beautiful in appearance, but also practical, and most importantly, it had to be a big ship, otherwise there was no need to even think about it. But that's just game attitude. I told people in the past that if you come back, I will lock you up like a dog. The Prince of Wales remembered that he had gone to a church that claimed to be able to solve the confusion in the hearts of all ship girls. Later, he went to the church and learned a little bit about it. But even if he knew the method, how could he find the person he was before? However, I originally went there with a skeptical attitude, and had no expectations as to whether I could untie the knot in my heart. But that's it, I'm not the kind of little girl who always has sex. Sugu said, it's better not to do it. No wonder Exeter has been persuading himself to bring people over. Exeter must know something. It's just that Bismarck doesn't seem to be getting along with the Prince of Wales. Lexington is a secretary ship, and the garrison cannot survive without her. Akage must stay in the garrison, because when Zeppelin comes over, Akage will definitely be by his side. Bizai was too lazy and Saratoga was causing trouble, so at that time I thought it would be better to come here alone. But no matter what, he was tied up like a dog. No way. Of course Lexington couldn't do such a thing, but the Prince of Wales really might, and Sugu suddenly became worried. At this time, as the Prince of Wales approached step by step, Sugu took a step back. But you are my admiral, what can I do to you? The Prince of Wales continued to advance, his power becoming more and more powerful, and Sugu took another step back. However, there was already a wall behind him, and there was no way to retreat. Then why did you leave? Even if you leave, if you found the fireflies, you should know where we are, right? Sugu explained, even if you encounter fireflies, the thing is like this. Then the Prince of Wales punched Sugu in the face and hit the wall, saying, you are not very powerful. Just keep talking. Where have you been? What exactly happened? With such a punch, the wall seemed to be shaking. Sugu tilted his head and looked at the angry Prince of Wales, but the Prince of Wales did not take back his hand at this time. The Prince of Wales was already tall and plump, no less tall than him. At this time, I was blocked in the corner, and I thought half-heartedly that this was my first time being banged against the wall. However, such a wall bumping was not a good thing. You know, come back. You also know to come back. You actually knew to come back. You should have left, you are dead. The voice suddenly changed from calm and indifferent to hoarse. Sugu looked at the Prince of Wales, and it was hard to imagine what the other person was feeling at this time. But rather than being tied up like a dog, I still have to defend myself. He thought about the interview question he had encountered when he first entered the academy, what should you do if you are chased by a girl who likes you? At this time, he looked at the Prince of Wales with a cold face. That, wife, I like you. Wife. This word suddenly stunned the Prince of Wales, and the anger that had accumulated for a long time disappeared. This was really a helpless greeting, a cunning greeting. However, the Prince of Wales was not a little girl. She smiled with an unclear meaning, it's interesting. If you like me, then never leave again. At this time, Sugu looked at the smile of the Prince of Wales and felt increasingly uneasy. Hey, director, this plot is wrong. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 194. Although the smile of the Prince of Wales is becoming more and more unsettling, there is nothing high energy unfolding after all. There was no collar or chain that was suddenly thrown out and then put around his neck by the Prince of Wales. Then he held the chain and said something like, Admiral, let's go. After all, I am an admiral, and I am tied up like a dog. That is the development of Ruri Shrine or I Society, but remember that the game is definitely a pure love collection game. In fact, in such a long time, I have met so many ship girls, and none of them have done anything excessive so far. Whether it was Lexington, Saratoga, Bizai, or Bismarck, although they kept saying they wanted to teach themselves a lesson, they never did it. Then the Prince of Wales is probably like this, that is, he has a stronger mouth. After all, it's like the Prince of Wales swimsuit in the game. In fact, the Prince of Wales also looks quite soft. That's why he gave the ring to him immediately. At this time, the Prince of Wales put down what he was doing and took Sugu around. He was silent most of the way, but occasionally he would say a few words, just talking about things in the past. Sugu had heard these things mentioned many times by counterattack when he was on the passenger ship, but he was not so indifferent and said that he had heard all these things. It was still pouring rain outside the castle, and the view from the corridor became blurry. I originally wanted to see a few other destroyers, but I heard that the Javelin, Blackback Jackal and Queen of Heaven were all here, and I didn't know what they looked like. Anyway, Kotaku is super cute, Sigsby is also pretty, Fletcher is cute, and the destroyers are probably all cute. However, compared to the vertical paintings, the javelins and the others are uglier after all than their own Fletcher-class destroyers and so on. Just thinking about it, my friend Makoto's Fletcher-class old third child is also very cute. I guess whether it is cute or not cannot be seen in the vertical painting in the game. This is reality after all. I didn't see the destroyer when I came in. Where have they all been? I don't know, but I haven't gone on any expeditions during this period. I'm probably playing in the garrison, or in the dormitory, or at the windmill. Soon after, the two men were walking in the corridor and came towards each other to fight back. At this time, because he had walked through the heavy rain, his whole body became wet, and his clothes and hair stuck to his skin, which was unexpectedly tempting. At this time she smiled and said, "The hot water is ready." The Prince of Wales ran her fingers through her long hair. At this time, she saw the counterattack that had not come back for a long time and had no expression. It seemed that the other party had never left for a long time. At this time, she said, "Then send it to my room first." At this time, Sugu thought to himself, wasn't the hot water prepared for him? Actually took mine. But presumably the Prince of Wales didn't know that it was hot water prepared for himself, so it didn't matter. Of course, as for more things, such as washing together or something, I can only think about it. Even if the Prince of Wales really wanted to do that, he would refuse. There are some things that he really isn't that relaxed about. Then one more such group counterattacked. Soon the Prince of Wales took everyone into a room. The room is small and simply decorated. There are several rows of bookcases with many books neatly placed inside. There is a desk with a stack of documents and a paperweight on it. There is also a round pot of cactus and a lamp on the desk. There is a bed further away with sky blue sheets, quilts, and ruffled pillows. "Look at this room," said the Prince of Wales. "Is this a study or a guest room? A room for yourself?" At this time, the Prince of Wales and counterattack stood there talking, and Sugu turned around. There was a bathroom. He looked outside but didn't open the door to go in. He wasn't that particular. There was a window near the bed. When I opened the window, there was still only a curtain of rain outside and I couldn't see much. However, from the vague outline, you can probably see half of the garrison, and you can also see the sea. It's really an invincible sea view room. Yeah, I'm very satisfied with this room. Very nice room. Counterattack whispered to himself, "Of course it's a very nice room." Then the Prince of Wales did not speak, but counterattacked, "There is everything in this room. If you want to read a book, there is a whole bookshelf over there. I asked someone to buy it before. They said it was a book that the Admiral would like to read. I think you will also like it. If you want to rest, there is a bed next to it. In the bathroom, I will prepare hot water for you when you want to take a bath at any time." Yasugu nodded. "It would be good to have a maid. What do you want to eat? I will prepare it for you. If you are not satisfied with anything, just call me at the window. In short, if you want something, just tell me and I will bring it to you. We will wait a bit. As for the matter, please stay here for now." At this time, the head of the counterattack was getting lower and lower, and her voice became quieter and softer. She said, "It is dangerous outside and accidents are easy to happen, so the master should stay here for the time being. It was okay at first, but the more I heard it, the more wrong it became. Why do I want to stay here? It's raining heavily outside now, and although there's no way to leave and see those lovely destroyers, am I staying here? Where are you guys going? There are also dangers. What dangers can there be in the garrison? Counterattack stood at the door of the room, put one hand in front of his belly and bowed. The words he said some time ago, such as long as the master orders, I will fight back without hesitation, and as long as the master asks, no matter what counterattack is will be completed with excellence, they have been completely forgotten now. After all, compared to the opinion of the Prince of Wales, well, I just want to say that as a maid, you should listen to your mistress. At this time, the Prince of Wales stood at the door and said, "Didn't you say you like me? Now that you are here, don't leave." Then just like that, the door slammed shut. As the Prince of Wales and counterattack left, the distinct sound of a door being locked could be heard. However, at this time, he still walked to the closed door and pulled the door handle out of fantasy, but it could not be opened at all. Hey, isn't it all over? What is this? Don't close the door. Are you kidding me? Are you locked up? As expected, the character of the ship girl cannot be fully understood. Thinking like this, he then walked to the other side of the room and looked out the window. There was only a second floor, and the first floor was grass. Even if he jumped, he probably wouldn't be hurt. But he is not so tempted to jump off. After all, one thing is certain, his ship girl will never hurt him. Just live here, there is no internet anyway, just read and hang out all day long. At this time, he was wandering around the room aimlessly, then sat behind the desk, picked up the documents, flipped through them and put them down. Then he opened the drawer and saw some candles inside. My heart skipped a beat, but I picked up the candle and thought it was just an ordinary candle. Remember that dripping wax should be done with a low-temperature candle. But why do we need candles when we already have a desk lamp? Then I continued to look around and opened the closet. The closet was not empty. How could there be so many clothes in a guest room? After flipping through it, it seemed that they were all women's clothes, including tuxedo skirts, fishtail skirts, sleeveless dresses, dresses with balloon sleeves and lace trim, shirts, gowns, windbreakers, all types of clothes, large sizes. Her underwear was also there, but there wasn't even a maid outfit inside. At this time, a bad thought arose. These are the clothes of the Prince of Wales. This is the room of the Prince of Wales, not a guest room. At this moment, Sugu suddenly discovered a very embarrassing question. If this is the room of the Prince of Wales, then what role should he play next? It would be fine if the Prince of Wales did not live here, but what would he do if he lived somewhere else? There wasn't even a sofa in this room. Where would I sleep? Bed or floor? If you sleep on the ground, you become a dog. What if you can't control yourself while sleeping on the bed? Treat it like nothing happened or just go to bed. But the Prince of Wales is not a person who has lived for a long time like Lexington. Even if the Prince of Wales doesn't care, if he really does it, he will really be a scumbag who thinks with his lower body. Moreover, the most important thing is that the husband who has run away from home starts to use his hands and feet as soon as he returns home. According to the character of the Prince of Wales, whatever he wants to do, his hands and feet may be broken. At this time, Sugu thought of the story Tian Hao told before, called The Story of Abnormal Love, which was really difficult to handle. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 195. He bowed slightly, stood at the door of the room, closed the door, and locked the door with the key. Then counterattack turned around in the corridor. The Prince of Wales was standing next to them. They were talking softly, and their words were drowned by the sound of heavy rain falling. Soon after, I walked through the corridor and along the semicircular staircase to the castle hall. The torch-like lamps installed on both sides of the wall were lit, and the originally dark hall became brighter. Now inside the hall, the heavy rain was blocked outside, and everything became quiet in this hall, which was considered the center of the castle. At this time, he countered, "Are you really good at doing these things? What's wrong?" Since he abandoned us, he actually said such things at the end. He said he liked me, but couldn't feel the feelings. When did he become like this? But since he said that, I believe it, then give him a chance. She pursed her lips in response, revealing a small dimple on the side of her face. She said with some worry, "But if you do this, will he really not be angry? After all, he is a man, and dignity is very important to a man, even if as a ship girl, she also knows this knowledge." The Prince of Wales sat on the chair behind the long table in the hall, tapping his fingers on the table, and said, "Just let him be angry when he is angry. Can he still be angry justifiably? I'm not saying this. The Admiral has a good personality and is not so easy to get angry, but many things are based on comparison. Although I only stayed in the Admiral's current garrison for a day at that time, around him, Lexington is really nice to him. It's the same wedding ship, but you treat him like this, but Lexington is different. Then the impression on you will not be good." Fighting back, I remembered the scene from back then. I originally wanted to serve my master to sleep. At that time, I saw Lexington walking directly into the room wearing sexy pajamas, which really shocked me. Although it was said to be a wedding ship, in fact, in my memory, no matter who it was, it seemed that the Admiral had never done anything like kissing, let alone getting closer. Counterattack can be said to be the little follower of the Prince of Wales, always thinking about the Prince of Wales at all times. Since he has abandoned us, what's the big deal if he abandons us again? If you can't even bear this, then so be it. Although they only spoke for a short while, the Prince of Wales still didn't know much about what happened to his admiral, but he knew some things without saying anything. She sat behind the bench, and Counterattack stood beside her. Although he mentioned a few times that there was no need for this, and we were all sisters, Counterattack insisted, and the Prince of Wales did not object much. At this point she said, "Tell me what you know. We spent so much time together on the passenger ship, and there was nothing to do on the passenger ship, so we spent a lot of time chatting. At that time, many things had been said. After spending such a long time together and chatting together, apart from keeping things secret, I actually knew all about the Admiral's past experiences and counterattacks." After thinking about it for a while, he counterattacked and told what he knew. The first person who found the Admiral was Xiaozai. Do you remember that little girl? She was probably the Admiral's favorite. Then they met San Juan. After listening to the counterattack telling him everything he knew, the Prince of Wales raised his head and looked at the sword and shield hanging on the wall in the distance in the hall. "I remember that the king here wanted to confer a title on himself, but he was rejected. He just asked him to get this land, and he also gave him a gift." At this time, the Prince of Wales said, "Lexington, Saratoga, Bismarck, and the North House who only knows how to read books." The rigid and dogmatic Prince of Wales did not have the slightest fondness for Bismarck. During the period when the Admiral was missing, he was still in the mood to read the book. When he saw the vulgar contents, he immediately scolded him. Bismarck was eager to protect his sister, and the two had a big quarrel. In fact, she didn't have a good impression of the pair of sisters now, but of course she didn't mean it with any malice. The counterattack continued, "If you treat him like this, what might happen after you go back?" The Prince of Wales tilted his head to look at the counterattack, with his long blonde hair hanging on his shoulders, and then said, "He may not be able to go back." Well. When he heard the words of the Prince of Wales, he showed a surprised expression even if he fought back. No matter what, he was happy that his admiral was back. The Prince of Wales laughed and said, "You're kidding me. When did you come out to see how he performed? Counterattack, help me fix my hair tomorrow." The Prince of Wales and Counterattack did something big. At this time, Firefly and Amethyst on the other side were jumping around early in the morning trying to find their little friends. Of course, the best ones were Blackback Jackal and Javelin. They were running around the townhouse, and the roads were familiar to them. Even though they had been away for a long time, the townhouse in their memories had not changed at all. The first thing they did at this time was sneak through the garden. Even if they trampled on the flowers and plants, they didn't care. Then we ran to everyone's favorite windmill. Inside the windmill was everyone's secret room, which contained things that adults should not know. Just after looking around, there was no one in the windmill. The two of them ran along the windmill's spiral staircase to the top of the tower, where they found everyone's secret room, but no one could be seen at all. Then they wanted to run back, but suddenly it started to rain. However, after waiting for a long time, the rain still didn't stop. They rushed back to the dormitory despite the rain. The two little girls ran towards the dormitory, through the rain, through the puddles, and finally ran in the empty corridor, paying no attention to anything because their chests were full of enthusiasm. "There's no windmill there, so it must be in the dormitory. When we tell them about it, they will be shocked." Amethyst said loudly, "Wait, let me tell you, let me tell you." Then he opened the dormitory door, and there was no one in the dormitory. I looked around and saw that the quilt was bulging, and I was actually sleeping on the bed. It's already this time and I'm still sleeping. Firefly clenched one hand into a fist and tapped her foot on the bed on the second floor, which was the bed of the destroyer Javelin. "Javelin, Javelin, get up. Hi, 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 hello, hello, wake up, and you're still sleeping." The bed was shaking. For the sleeping Javelin, since the counterattack left, the Prince of Wales ignored them and hid on the bed to sleep when nothing happened. The loud noise woke everyone up, and the pink-haired girl climbed up from the bed, rubbing her fluffy hair and sleepy eyes, and the sound of complaints came over. "What are you doing?" Subconsciously thinking it was a noisy blackback jackal, she hugged the quilt and lay on the guardrail beside the bed, stretching out half of her body from the bed to look down. That person actually had blonde hair with twin tails. She rubbed her eyes and made a surprised sound. Firefly. Why are you back?" "Just coming back. You're not missing. You just disappeared." Firefly has always played with the little house, and now Firefly has learned it badly. "I won't tell you anymore, I have something big to tell you now." Then the Firefly turned its head and looked to the side and said, "Where is the blackback jackal? And where is the Queen of Heaven?" Javelin said, "You know, the Queen always thinks of us as little girls, but now I am a girl. And she doesn't sleep with us. What do you want to say?" "It's a very important thing." "Forget it, I'll tell you first." At this time, Firefly was just about to say something when Amethyst said from the side, "Let the noble lady tell you, just listen with sincerity and fear." Firefly said, "Let me tell you, do you know what happened to me? I met the Admiral." Amethyst screamed, "Fireflies." Then the two quarreled over who would tell the secret first, but what happened next was disappointing. They waited until night without seeing their Admiral. By the next day, he still hadn't seen his Admiral. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 196. The temperament is somewhere between a little girl and a young girl. The pink-haired girl is sitting on a stone bench beside the corridor of the governor's mansion, her eyes wandering. There was a small pool in front of her. At this time, oval fallen leaves were floating on the clear water. It was a very beautiful scenery. However, she held her face with her hands, not in the mood to appreciate it at all, and was a little annoyed. The reason she was troubled was because her good friend Firefly had been away for such a long time. She originally thought she had sunk. She had mourned her before, but now she has come back. Of course, the cause of the trouble is not because the fireflies are back. Of course, it makes people happy that the fireflies are back, but something happened that makes people feel uneasy and troublesome. That is, fireflies actually learned to lie. She was actually lying to deceive this young lady. Firefly kept saying that she had found the Admiral, but in the past 2 days, not to mention seeing the Admiral, not even a man was seen in the governor's mansion. Firefly actually still steadfastly vowed to ask Amethyst Quartz. She also saw it. She was with Sister Counterattack, and she also lived in the guardhouse for many days. It sounds pretty decent, like Lexington, Saratoga, Akagia, Bismarck and so on. There is even a new aircraft carrier sister named York City, who is a big-breasted and brainless guy. I remember that Amethyst patted her chest and said, "Of course I saw it. I told you that I was the one who found the Admiral." As an outstanding lady. When Amethyst said this, it would be even harder for people to believe it. But I didn't believe it at first, but in the past 2 days, Firefly has been pestering Miss Counterattack and Prince of Wales, making people curious again, whether the Admiral is really here. Later, I couldn't hold back my curiosity and asked for a counterattack, and she said yes. But that was said with a smile, so insincere. Later, I plucked up the courage to ask the Prince of Wales. She also said that he was here, and asked them where the Admiral was. She laughed too, but she responded with a funny expression, and the Prince of Wales had a sneer expression. Scary. Then he said, "If you want to see him, just wait. He is reflecting now, and I have locked him up." Is there anything I need to reflect on? They are not allowed to meet each other. Moreover, if he is locked up, is he locked up in a small dark room? Although the Prince of Wales never tells lies, he is still a little curious, so is the Admiral here? Why lock it up? That's what's bothering her now. On the other side, being locked up, Sugu did feel a little embarrassed. Of course, he is not being held like a prisoner, and he actually doesn't care too much. After all, it was originally the room of the Prince of Wales. The decoration is very good, and the bedding and other items are all very good. Living here can be said to be an enjoyment. But the embarrassing thing is that there are no clothes that can be changed in the room. The new clothes are similar to knight's clothes. They belong to the Prince of Wales and are said to be similar to men's clothes. Similar to men's clothing, it is also women's clothing. I refuse to wear the Prince of Wales's women's clothes. But there was another difficulty that never appeared from the beginning. It's actually good that the Prince of Wales didn't come to stay these days, otherwise everyone would still feel embarrassed sleeping in the same room. However, the Prince of Wales did not come to stay, which was a bit disappointing. Worrying about gains and losses is a terrible person. There are many books in the room, and they are all messy, and there are even books about retaliating against society and teaching people to rebel. Wales is not a person who likes to read books, and many of the books are brand new. At this time, Sugu looked at the fairy tale books found on the bookshelf. After all, he was not in the mood to read those obscure books. At this time, the maid standing next to him was the maid. Upholding her duties as a maid, she held the tray and placed the snacks on the desk in front of Sugu. Various kinds of snacks, compared to her unsightly potato and fried fish craftsmanship, these snacks are as exquisite as they come. He countered, "Master, do you prefer coffee or black tea?" "It's all fine, I don't choose, but you still have to bring me some water." Then he counterattacked, watching Sugu take the snack and eat it, and said, "Don't blame the Prince of Wales, she felt very angry at first, so she locked you up." But later she figured it out, and it was hard to let go of her reserve all of a sudden. The soft snacks melted in your mouth. Sugu put the fairy tale book on his lap, ate the snacks, and said, "I didn't care, living here is actually quite good. Well, the snacks you made are delicious, you don't need to prepare a meal for me, just give me some snacks, and pair them with black tea or coffee." After eating a few snacks, Sugu said again, "But, if you come in like this, will the Prince of Wales not care?" "No matter." If she hadn't acquiesced, I would have come in. "Master, just stay here for a few days. I will comfort the Prince of Wales for you, and then you can come out." Sugu patted the snack crumbs on his hands and said, "I suddenly discovered a problem. You pretend to be a good person in front of me, and you pretend to be a good person in front of the Prince of Wales. You are trying to please both sides." "Hee, of course, both of them are people I can't help. One is the master and the other is the mistress." The wallflower actually said it openly and openly. Counterattack smiled and started to pack her things. After talking for a while, she said, "I'm leaving soon, and I have to help the Prince of Wales process documents. So, what else do you want? Food, drink, or something? Do you want some other books? The kind of books Bazi likes to read." It doesn't matter, there was no refusal. Speaking of which, Firefly and Amethyst Quartz were worried to death because they couldn't see you. They came to me this morning and asked where you had been and why you couldn't see anyone when you came back. Javelin also came to ask me if you were there. If you were there, why didn't you show up? If you weren't there, why did Firefly and Amethyst Quartz say you were here again? Then what did you say? That I was imprisoned by you. He threw back his hands and said, "So, it's difficult to deal with it now. Congratulations. Ha, I will let you out when the time comes. Don't talk nonsense, otherwise it will ruin the image of the Prince of Wales. There is nothing worse than such a thing for a wife to have a relationship with her husband. What else can her image be ruined?" When he said this, he said it with a smile. Rather than being angry, it was better to say that he was angry. It's a joke, but the counterattack is just a joke. The Prince of Wales doesn't care about many things. He countered, "There is nothing worse than a husband abandoning his wife and disappearing for such a long time." Saying this, counterattack then left. Sugu was still reading a book alone. Feeling bored, he stood at the window to see what was going on outside the governor's mansion. Yesterday, we could still see everyone quarreling in the governor's mansion. After all, the governor's mansion was not big in the first place. Sometimes the destroyers are very close to me when they are fighting, and I think that they can hear it if they just say something casually. But he's not really locked up, so of course he won't shout for help. But at noon, Sugu discovered something unexpected. He stood by the window and watched a pink girl walking around the wall. The pink-haired girl is a javelin. I originally wanted to shout, but after thinking about it, I decided to forget it and wanted to see what the other party wanted to do. In the afternoon, Sugu saw the other party starting to stand below and gesticulating. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 197. The Prince of Wales is always cold and cold, but for a beautiful woman like her, even if she is cold, most people will have a tolerant attitude. But for Sugu, Lexington was gentle, and Saratoga was hot inside. At this time, compared with the Prince of Wales, who was also on the wedding ship, he was actually not cold to cold. However, the coldness of the Prince of Wales at this time is shameful. The reason for this is because the Prince of Wales moved his office to his own room. Why do such a thing? Anyone with a little knowledge can understand the intention behind it, and Sugu certainly understands it as well. It was just because of my relationship that I did such a thing. Although I kept saying that I didn't care, I probably did. Although when they first came here, the two of them were silent for a long time. Occasionally, Sugu would say some unhelpful words, and then the Prince of Wales would respond casually. The first day would pass like this, and then at night the Prince of Wales would pack up his documents and leave. However, the situation gradually improved the next day. I first met the small house, the little Turpits. Because it was separated from the big house, the North House, I called her Xiazai and Yuzai. We lived together for a long time. Started traveling and met San Juan. When I found fireflies, I was in an orphanage. There were 2 Atticus in that orphanage. The 2 Atticus are magical, but their personalities and looks are different. Although the Prince of Wales doesn't speak much, Mr. Sugu will not remain silent all the time, otherwise the matter will be endless. As a man, of course you must take some responsibility at this time. Although the conversation on the first day is not pleasant, you must work hard on the second day. Of course, the reason for such efforts is also because the Prince of Wales is undoubtedly a mature and sexy woman. When I was in the academy, I built a new ship girl, called the York City, and she kicked me when we met. Oh, it was the first time I met a ship girl who would kick her own admiral when we met. She, although she didn't have anything an aircraft carrier with a good brain but still very good. She is the sister of the Hornet. I will ask her to date someone now. I heard some counterattacks saying that without humans as admirals, it would be difficult for the garrison to live. At this time, the Prince of Wales finally said, someone can help. Due to the regulations of the ship girl headquarters and the human government, as a garrison without a human admiral, there was no way to apply for resources from the ship girl headquarters after defeating the deep sea ship girl. But some things can be done in a roundabout way, and you can obtain resources by asking familiar admirals to help you apply for your results. It's just that this method needs to be transferred, and it will also owe people a lot of money, so generally speaking, I don't want to do it. In fact, Sugu knew clearly about the operation of the town hall. At this time, he said, I'm here now. Whether he really didn't understand or not, Sugu then said, if you can, there are some things you can leave to me, but there are some things you are not familiar with. You have to teach me. The Prince of Wales said bluntly, I have no interest in teaching you. Did you learn in vain in the academy? Alas, actually I can do it all, but I just want everyone to get closer, so I'm really indifferent. So Sugu said, actually, I can do it all. Then why do you want me to teach you? Looking for trouble. I lost to you. However, Sugu continued to say, the layout of this garrison is like a castle. Do you like a castle like this? I used to like Western-style buildings, such as Gothic, Baroque, and Romanesque. Coco-style building, after seeing your townhouse, I also want to build mine like this. Yes, my townhouse, and your townhouse. You and me, the word was deliberately emphasized. The communication on the second day has already made great progress. By the third day, gradually the Prince of Wales would occasionally take the initiative to say something. If you need help, we will make relevant applications regarding battle results and resource consumption and submit them to other people's garrison offices for reporting. Although generally speaking, every garrison house will not check whether there are any concealed reports, but reports must always be made. This is a process issue. I am not good at these things. I used to do it counterattack, but these days she said she is very busy. Counterattack, he is indeed a good teammate. After hearing what the Prince of Wales said, Sugu of course patted his chest as if he had left it to me. Then he said from the side, how about I help you do it? You can. It's all right. Lexington shouldn't be the one doing the reporting for you. Is Lexington doing it? It's the same as what Xiao Zai said at the beginning, but it was all a game. Now he is a very reliable admiral. At this time, Sugu said, although she also helps, there are two issues, whether she can do it and whether she can do it. The former is a question of level, and the latter is a question of attitude. The Prince of Wales made the point, you have never had a good attitude. Despite saying this, the Prince of Wales still pushed a document in front of him. Sugu himself had done such reports when he was in college, and had also encountered them during his internship. Although he didn't dare to say how powerful they were, he could still do these things. Anyway, he always had a decent level. Holding the documents, Sugu said, purchase the necessary things. Why is the food in the townhouse only fish and potatoes? Paint, desks, beds, these are the things that need to be spent. Report them. Do you think it is great to change the refrigerator to a controllable refrigeration device? Is it easy to get such an application approved? He was joking while making tables. In fact, there was nothing particularly outstanding about him, but he could calculate the data in the reports very quickly. After all, he was quite good at general mathematics and calculations. Compared with the civilization of this era, the knowledge he has mastered is, in that sentence, standing on the shoulders of giants. Report to the local government. Importance, urgency, consciousness, initiative, starting point, entry point, breakthrough point, foothold, comprehensive advancement, overall planning, comprehensive management. Anyway, there is nothing wrong with using more such words. Then that's it, Sugu wrote a long and eloquent article, all of which were nutritious. I have been working on this document with the Prince of Wales, occasionally speaking. In this way, around afternoon, the Prince of Wales put down his pen behind the desk, then took out an envelope from the document, and then said, there is a banquet and I need a male companion. You and I will go there then. Sugu took the torn envelope and said, speaking of which, who accompanied you before? What's the matter? Check the post. The Prince of Wales raised his chin and said, and then explained, either push it away, or let the counter-attack accompany me. But you two are both women. I would wear men's clothes and counter-attack would wear a long dress. She let her hair down and wore a dress and it was beautiful. Does she wear anything else besides the maid outfit? In my impression, counter-attack always wears the same maid outfit. Of course, she actually has many sets of the same maid outfit because of the change. If you fight back, you will wear a bunny girl costume. Okay, that's it. Your imprisonment is over. You can go out directly later and let the queen sew a suit of clothes for you. You have to accompany me to the banquet. If so, you can't embarrass me with your clothes. With that said, the Prince of Wales walked out of the room, and then there was a slamming of the door. Looking at the closed door, it turns out that the door has not been locked since the first day. Sugu remembered pushing the door open and walking to the corridor outside the room, feeling confused. You didn't agree on imprisonment, but what about the dog leash? Of course, he finally came back after a while. Although the Prince of Wales has a cold expression on his face, as the counter-attack said, the Prince of Wales is the type who is cold on the outside and hot on the inside. The banquet is really troublesome, but since it is necessary, of course it is my duty to do it. In fact, no matter how you think about it, the Prince of Wales is tall and plump, especially the size of his chest. Although Sugu doesn't know what Helena looks like, at least compared to everyone in the current guardhouse, the Prince of Wales really stands out. Of course he likes such a figure. At this time, Sugu was sitting in the room, taking a sip of coffee, picking up the letter left by the Prince of Wales and reading it. At this time, he was not so anxious to go out, it was better to say that he had been thinking about it. If the Prince of Wales had just finished his imprisonment and ran out immediately, wouldn't it be a bad impression and give people the feeling that he hates this place? Thinking like this, at this moment, a bang 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 dash sound suddenly came from outside the window, as if someone was knocking on the window. Then there was a gentle knocking outside the window, accompanied by voices, which would have startled people if it weren't for the broad daylight. Sugu himself had always liked rooms with dark tones, and the Prince of Wales didn't care about the light in the room. I felt cold last night and closed the window. When the Prince of Wales came over in the morning, he didn't even think of opening it. At this time, he walked over and opened the red curtain to block the light, and then looked out. There was no one or anything outside the window. Sugu was a little confused, remembering that he clearly heard the sound, and suddenly his head popped up at this time. He leaned back quickly and almost fell to the ground. At this moment, a girl with long pink hair suddenly appeared in front of the window, and then she kept knocking on the window. A soft voice as sweet as a silver bell came, "Admiral, open the door, open the door, open the window." As she said this, the girl waved her hand and motioned for him to open the glass window. A few days ago, Sugu saw the girl walking around downstairs. At this time, he was wondering why the girl appeared outside the window. Javelin. The girl nodded. Sugu walked over and opened the window, then looked out of the window with doubts. After all, even the ship girls couldn't fly. Then he suddenly realized that Javelin had set up a long ladder on the ground and climbed up. He didn't know where he found the long ladder, but it had been moved here. Javelin climbed in from the window and looked around the room. She also knew that this was the Prince of Wales's study, and she had rarely had the opportunity to enter it before. After all, even though the Prince of Wales is very kind to everyone, he is also very strict about rules. There was no chance for them to enter the room. "This is the second floor, and I didn't dare to go in through the main entrance at first, because Counterattack and the Prince of Wales always stayed there, and they would scold me if they saw me running around. But that's not the main reason. The most important thing is a guilty conscience. I had been hearing from Firefly that the Admiral had arrived at the garrison. The Prince of Wales also said that he was there, but even though he had searched in most places, he still couldn't see it. The huge garrison was not found here. So out of curiosity, I wanted to set up a ladder and climb up. Anyway, the ground was soft grass, so even if I accidentally fell, I wouldn't be hurt." He found a bench from the tool room and moved it secretly downstairs, then climbed up, and actually found the Admiral in the Prince of Wales' room. At this time, Javelin blinked. This Admiral was real and definitely not a fake. After all, how could there be such a fake person in the world, and the most important thing was the connection and throbbing from the depths of the soul. This connection told him that this was the Admiral. At this time, the Javelin climbed up the long ladder to the window, then jumped down from the window, and then sat on the ground like this. She seemed a little tired. She sat on the ground and grabbed her feet with both hands and said, "Admiral, it's really the Admiral. I didn't expect that what Firefly said was true. Admiral, you are really here. Why are you not here, up here? Oh, this is the Prince of Wales's study, you are locked up." "I have been locked up in a dark room before, it was very miserable." Sugu explained, "It doesn't count. In fact, thanks to this period of time, the relationship with the Prince of Wales has improved by leaps and bounds." Javelin said, "Don't be afraid, we support you. There must be some compelling reason for the Admiral to leave. No matter what you have done? We definitely support you." Sugu was a little moved when he heard Javelin's words. "The Javelin in front of me was completely brought up by the expedition and the goodwill, but it was just practiced to the level of transformation and then thrown away. In fact, due to the relationship between skills and game mechanics, it is difficult to sink a Javelin during an exercise, and it often happens that there is still a single First Blood Javelin left at the end of the exercise. Teams with Javelins are always said to be taking revenge on society. I usually get annoyed when I see the Javelins during exercises, but I didn't expect it to be such a cute girl. Compared to Prince of Wales and Counterattack, being treated with such tenderness and trust, Destroyer is indeed the cutest." Consultant Su said, "I saw you gesticulating downstairs yesterday. It turned out you were looking for a ladder." However, the girl did not hear his words. At this time, she was immersed in her own thinking, and then said to herself, "No, no, how can Sister Prince do such a thing?" Javelin talked to himself for a long time, then raised his head and looked at Sugu with a determined look, and said, "Let's run away." Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 198. When a beautiful girl says, "Let's run away," what should Sugu do? Agree immediately? Or refuse decisively and explain the matter clearly? However, no matter whether she agrees or refuses, no matter what, the girl named Javelin can say such words at this time, which represents her sincerity. Although the counterattack betrayed him and he defected to the Prince of Wales, he still had such a cute destroyer, so he should always be on his side. Under normal circumstances, after he had been away for such a long time, the Prince of Wales was naturally the boss of the entire garrison. But looking at Javelin's performance, it turns out that I am the admiral. My dignity as an admiral is now greatly satisfied in front of the girl. It's just that this is not a real imprisonment in itself. The Prince of Wales has now released himself. So when Javelin said "let's run away" at this time, Sugu immediately wanted to explain. Well, that's actually what happened. How? When the doubtful voice came over, Sugu immediately saw the pink-haired girl named Javelin riding on the window, blinking at him with a pair of big eyes, as if saying, "We don't have time, let's get in the car." As expected, there was no way to resist the girl's eyes. Javelin said, "I didn't expect that what Firefly said was true. Admiral, you are actually here. Judging from your appearance now, you must have been locked up by the Prince of Wales. I always come here to do business, no matter what. The Prince of Wales can't even lock you up for this matter. Follow me." She was originally sitting on the window, but after she finished speaking, she raised her other leg and crossed the window. He clung to the eaves of the window with both hands, then stepped on the long ladder with one foot, and then the whole person disappeared from the window. Just like this, he climbed down the long ladder to the ground. The Javelin stood on the ground and held the long ladder with both hands. He didn't shout loudly at this time, probably because he was afraid of being discovered. But the waving movements and eyes seemed to say, come down quickly, there is no time." At this time, Sugu was in trouble. After thinking about it, he still followed Javelin's wishes and climbed up the long ladder from the second-floor window to the ground. Only then did his feet touch the ground. Javelin pushed him to the ground, then leaned to his ear and said, "Don't stand up. There is a window. We have to squat and escape. I'm a bit into the drama." Sugu said, "How did you find me there?" Javelin said, "This lady is the most powerful. In fact, it was Firefly who told you about you, and she said it with all her heart. But I didn't see you at all that night, and I didn't see you until the next day. We went to ask the Prince of Wales and counterattack. They said you were there, but they didn't say where you were. However, we searched all over the town guardhouse and couldn't find you anywhere. I've been locked up in a dark room before, and it was very scary. I observed the counterattack and Sister Princes take action, and finally come to the conclusion that you must be locked in Sister Prince's room. Do they also know about Firefly and Amethyst?" "Of course I don't know. Firefly is fine, and Amethyst Quartz is a middle school student. She still keeps saying that she is a noble lady, which is really troublesome. That bratty kid has never learned the elegance of a British lady at all." Sure enough, the image of Amethyst Chuyuni is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Javelin whispered, "I found a long ladder in the tool room, and climbed up while they were away. Really, Admiral, you didn't even call for help. In fact, the Prince of Wales was still here just now." Just like this, he walked a long way along the wall with his head lowered and his waist hunched over. Javelin said again, "You have really found Lexington?" "Yes. It's great. Sister Lexington is the gentlest, much better than Sister Prince, Firefly has really lived in your place for a long time. Yeah, probably a few months. While talking like this, Javelin suddenly stopped and pressed her whole body against the wall like a secret agent. Then she put her finger to her mouth and made a hissing motion. Then she pointed in front and said, "Be careful, there is someone patrolling in front. We need to avoid her, otherwise everything will be over if she is discovered." At this time, under the gaze of Javelin, Sugu cautiously walked over with a skeptical attitude. The girl pulled his clothes to signal him not to go there, but Sugu said that he was experienced. Both of them were using sign language, and it was unclear whether they understood each other. At this time, Sugu leaned against the corner and looked over, revealing a little girl with short gray hair. With short gray hair, he is probably the destroyer Blackback Jackal, the unmodified Blackback Jackal. Blackback Jackal. Javelin nodded, yes. She is the loyal dog of the Prince of Wales. Loyal dog. Javelin nodded and said firmly, yes, loyal dog. Why does the Prince of Wales's rule seem to be full of corruption and tyranny? It seems that Javelin is a folk knight, so he should be a loyal minister who is being persecuted. At this time, even the word loyal dog was coined, and the Imperial Eagle Dog and the Royal Guard's minions were also used. But the Javelin is really interesting. You can think of such a plot, and your imagination is a bit big. Sugu looked over there again. The Blackback Jackal seemed to be just playing there, staring at the ground. Then let's walk against the wall. No, a Blackback Jackal has a great sense of smell, like a Blackback Jackal, it's so messy, I mean, a Blackback Jackal is like an animal, a Blackback Jackal. Then Javelin looked at the sky again, and his ship uniform clicked open. At this time, she was holding the javelin of the ship, and the javelin was holding the javelin, in short, she was holding the weapon from the ship, which was the javelin with the chain. Then standing by the wall, she began to sign. Sugu looked at the girl's movements. Did she want to throw her at the city wall? Then the two of them climb up together and have fun. Throw the javelin up? You will definitely be discovered if you do this, it will make such a loud noise. What can we do? Sugu joked, how about we throw a bone out, and then the Blackback Jackal will chase the bone and run away. Javelin replied seriously, but we have no bones. Then throw a stone. Who threw it? Just throw it away. Then Javelin just picked up a brick and threw it away into the distance. Then the Blackback Jackal was really attracted by the stone thrown by Javelin, and they all behaved so randomly. Then Javelin said, let's run. Where to run? The windmill, this way, this way. The two people walked through the path of the town hall and trotted all the way to the windmill. The windmill built of stone bricks is quite old. Walk into the tower and climb up the long spiral ladder to the top of the windmill. Standing on the top of the windmill, you can see the huge rotating shaft, gears and millstones. From the window, you can also see the huge fan blades of the windmill rotating little by little, those thrilling mechanical forces. At this time, there was a sudden sound, and Sugu said, there is a sound. Don't worry, it's probably a mouse, or a wild cat, Admiral, this way, this way. Javelin groped around on the nearby wall, then opened a door. After passing through the low door, the room was filled with messy things. Paint bucket, green plastic box. The black metal that exudes resentment is basically the armor of a deep-sea destroyer. A large glass bottle with what looks like octopus tentacles inside, soaked in yellow liquid. Sugu looked at it. After all, he had studied in the academy and had contact with a lot of knowledge about ship girls and deep-sea ship girls. They were basically the tentacles on deep-sea submarines. Sitting on the wooden floor, Javelin said, this is our secret room. Only a few people know it. The Prince of Wales and the others will never find you. You stay here and don't go out. I will send you food regularly. Sugu fiddled with a can of military rations, not knowing where it came from, and said, "Hey, hey, staying here alone without going out, what's the difference between that and being locked up? There is freedom here." After Javelin thought about it for a while, he seemed to have no freedom if he stayed here. This was true. "Then I'm going to take you away from here and leave by boat. There is a boat in the townhouse, but I can't drive it, so it's very troublesome to learn. I can carry you on my back, and when I wait until Scala, I'll take the car to the big city, and then go to the dock there. There's a boat." Sugu looked at the girl chatting. It was the cute destroyer Javelin, and he fell in love with her. "Actually, that's it." Sugu told his own experience, starting from the initial counterattack. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 199. There were some big boxes around, and Sugu was sitting on these boxes, looking around at the powerful rotating shafts driven by the windmill. Initially, we wanted to go to Exeter. Looking out the window, in addition to the rotating blades of the windmill, you can also see a large field of flowers in the distance. The ferry tickets have been bought. Javelin sat facelessly on the wooden floor, listening attentively, combing his long pink hair with his fingers while listening. When I first met the Prince of Wales, it was raining heavily. After sitting on the wooden floor for a long time, Javelin sat on the wooden barrel next to him and shook his legs. When you found me, everything was actually over. Sugu held his chin with one hand and told everything exactly as it happened. Javelin on the other side listened to everything and said, "So this is what happened. The Admiral was not imprisoned at all. To be precise, it can be considered as being locked up, but it didn't last long." After Javelin heard the story about his Admiral and the Prince of Wales, he originally thought something wonderful would unfold, but in the end, nothing happened. Nothing happened, which made people feel disappointed, and even caused them to misunderstand Sister Prince. Javelin said, "This is nothing more than being locked up. Sister Prince didn't force you to do anything. She was originally your wedding ship. Even if they live together, it's normal. The Admiral is the one, you bastard." It only took one story to go from wanting to help him escape to despising his behavior. Sugu said, "Why did your attitude change so quickly? Didn't you just want to save me from the sea of fire? Weren't you originally filled with righteous indignation and wanted to help me escape?" Javelin lowered his hands and said, "Now that I think about it, I think the Admiral did something wrong. It's obvious that the Prince sister didn't do anything. Sure enough, it was the base camp that the Prince of Wales had run for so long. How could it be so easily breached?" Sugu said, "Okay, it's my fault." "It's your fault." Saying this, Javelin held her fragrant cheek and said, "Actually, it's difficult for the Prince's sister. It only took a short time to go from little traitor to little guard." After waiting for a long time for Javelin to finish speaking, Sugu nodded, "I know everything. Now that he is here, he has no plans to go back for the time being." Sugu is standing in the secret room at this time. What is the Admiral looking at? Distance. This is our secret room. No one would tell anyone else. There's also a secret room. It's a mess and full of things. It's a utility room. Javelin said, "Many things here are collected by black-backed jackals. Don't look at her like that. She likes to sniff around you. If you touch her head, it feels like touching like a puppy, you can feel her tail wagging." Sugu looked at the mess around him and even saw a pistol, but the hammer of the pistol was broken. Seeing his Admiral holding a pistol, Javelin said, "There used to be a fight there. We passed by there and picked it up casually. It turned out that the bullet could still be released, but then it couldn't be fired after it was twisted. We also had a rifle and a mortar, but no shells. Are you allowed to play with such a dangerous counterattack? No, that's why this is our secret room. While talking, at some point, Javelin rummaged through a pile of messy things and dug out a pocket. When he opened the pocket, he found black charcoal. Then Sugu saw her spreading a layer of iron sheet on the floor of the room. The iron sheet looked like it had been burned many times. By the way, the Admiral wants to have barbecue. Whatever, but why do you have everything here? The days I live here are actually very boring. I don't know what to do. Sister Prince always has a lot of things to do, and it's not easy for Sister Counterattack to accompany her. Sometimes I read some books, although I want to do something. But mostly I'm bored and just grilling here. Saying this, Javelin found the tongs and plucked the charcoal, then put it on the stand. Admiral, what do you want to eat? Just grill the fish. No grilled fish, just octopus legs. Sugu suddenly thought of the tentacles in the bottle. He remembered that the picture of Javelin's swimsuit showed the girl from the barbecue deep-sea ship, and he couldn't help but think of some bad things. Octopus legs, forget it then. Javelin said, I always feel that the Admiral is thinking about some bad things. Sugu avoided the girl's gaze and said, where did you get the octopus legs? It's impossible to catch them now. The octopus legs that have been dried will be grilled again. Then since it's been dried, what's the point of baking it again? Javelin held his long hair with both hands and said, because it's interesting. Having lost to you, Sugu said, speaking of which, is that glass bottle really the tentacles of a deep-sea submarine? Yes, the voice said matter-of-factly. Even if it's an enemy, are the tentacles considered the hands and feet of a deep-sea submarine? Cut off a person's hands and feet. That can only be regarded as the ship's attire of a bathyscaphe. Although it is wrapped around the body of the bathyscaphe, it is just the tentacles of an octopus, I guess. I don't know what the hell it is anyway. What is the soaking fluid? It's just formalin, I soaked it in. You have such a strange hobby, speaking of which, even if you used sonar and bombers to sink the deep-sea submarine, they were still in the water. How did you find them? Use a net to catch it? That ordinary feeling. Javelin looked at the somewhat discouraged Sugu and said, Admiral, you won't tell the Prince of Wales. Well, no. Then this is for you. What's this? Charcoal grilled octopus legs. Such thick tentacles, don't lie to me. Hey, have you discovered it? Do you still want to eat the tentacles of the deep-sea submarine? Think about it and forget it. Oh, you don't want to eat? You can forget it like this. According to the plot of the story, shouldn't the Admiral be brave enough to eat it? I'm just an ordinary person. Just ordinary octopus legs. Soon after finishing the barbecue and extinguishing the charcoal fire, Javelin sat next to Sugu. I miss you sometimes, but you're gone now, that's it anyway. Of course it's the best when the Admiral comes, and I'm still a little excited, but Firefly said you were here a long time ago, and then he came to look for you. I haven't found you for many days, and I'm already a little discouraged. As he spoke like this, the javelin leaned against Sugu's body. I have always imagined many times before, what would it feel like if the Admiral was around? After all, for a ship girl like herself who was not taken seriously, her memories of the Admiral were very few. What does that feel like? Is it dad, brother, or lover? At this time, he was leaning on his own Admiral. His Admiral was not very tall, handsome, or brave. The sun shines into the windmill, and the extinguished charcoal fire on the iron sheet is still smoking. Javelin turned his head and glanced at Sugu, thinking to himself, neither dad nor brother nor lover, the Admiral is just the Admiral. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 200. After the barbecue in the secret room of the windmill, the things were packed up haphazardly, and the iron sheet was thrown on top of the mountain of items. Although the barbecue was said to be only octopus legs at first, there are actually many snacks. After all, it is a secret room, which is actually a small warehouse. So at the end of the barbecue, the two even took out the canned fish and grilled it on the charcoal fire. In short, the taste was very strange. It was only halfway through eating that Sugu thought of checking the production date and shelf life of the can, and then in the end he got lucky. Fortunately, it wasn't canned herring. After eating the barbecue, he said something and emerged from the secret room carrying the garbage. The remaining fish bones were then thrown directly onto the millstone of the windmill with a javelin, and then crushed into crumbs. Isn't the millstone used to grind flour? As Sugu said this, Javelin showed a troubled look. Walking down the windmill along the spiral staircase, Sugu walked in front and Javelin walked behind. At this time, Sugu was walking on the stone road towards the governor's mansion in the sea breeze. From the other direction of the windmill, he could still see the small village that had turned into ruins. They all said that it is easy to get angry when there are no people living in the house and the popularity is gone. Abandoned, this small village is now. The originally good houses were covered with vines and turned into complete ruins. I have to say that he ate a lot this time. After all, he has eaten too many snacks these days. Although the snacks are delicious, they lack oil and water. As for the potatoes and fried fish cooked by me, I really have no appetite. Sugu walked in front carrying the garbage, and Javelin shouted from behind, "You can't tell me about the fish bones I threw into the millstone. You can't let sister counterattack, no." Sugu said, "Maybe. You've eaten so much from me and now you're saying this, what a bastard." Sugu shrugged and walked in front. Suddenly the wind blew past his ears, and then a javelin hit the road in front of him. Looking back, Javelin was grinning, and all her ship uniforms had been opened. "Anyway, there's nothing going on now, so it doesn't matter if we make things bigger in the garrison." Sugu continued walking. Javelin caught up with him from behind, then jumped up and patted him on the back. Then the two people walked side by side, and Javelin said, "I remember that you always liked to say bad things about me. When did you say that?" "I've obviously said a lot of vulgar words, but I'm too embarrassed to say them out loud. Anyway, it's just about damn javelins and the like." The javelin is the standard equipment of the newspaper team. In the original game, I met in the training team, and it is estimated that no one who played the game had not scolded Javelin. At this time, Sugu naturally retorted, "I'm not scolding you, I'm scolding others. It's also a javelin." To be honest, destroyers like Javelin are not cared for after they have been trained and modified. It is not clear how good their favorability is. San Juan was very kind to her at first, but York City's attitude was much worse. Now that she got to know Javelin, the girl's attitude towards her was different from everyone else. At this time, Sugu looked at the pink-haired girl next to him. Unlike the Prince of Wales, he had a super favorable impression. The so-called deep love means deep responsibility. The javelin itself is like that to him. A normal admiral's feeling is that at most he has some good feelings. On the way back to the garrison, Sugu mentioned that the Prince of Wales asked him to find the destroyer Queen of Heaven. It seemed that he wanted to help him make clothes, a formal suit suitable for attending a banquet. Sugu said, "Javelin, is the Queen good at tailoring? I've only heard it mentioned by counterattack." Javelin clasped her hands behind her back and said, "Sister Queen of Heaven knows how to tailor, no matter what kind of clothes she is. She sewed the maid uniform for the counterattack, and she also sewed the Prince of Wales's knight uniform. Anyway, everyone's clothes are the same. But she's better at knitting than tailoring." "Knitting? It's just knitting sweaters with wool or knitting decorations with wool. Then where is she? She doesn't live with us. She thinks we are just kids. Compared to a little girl like Xiaozai, Javelin is more like a girl." Soon after, I walked into the governor's mansion. When I came back, I didn't see the black-backed jackal anymore, and I don't know where it went. I walked to where the other party was squatting and lowered my head. There was a crack in the cement board on the ground, and black dots crawled here and there. It turned out that the ground was nothing more than an ant nest. Javelin said, "The queen has her own studio, next to the abandoned canteen. The canteen looks like a war room, and there are actually weapons and armors in it. I don't know what the previous admiral here thought. Eating means fighting. Well, the queen is so powerful, she even has a studio. Actually, everyone has their own room if they want. The town hall is so big, there are many spare rooms, and some of them are covered with dust. Even counterattack sister can't clean such a room by herself, so now everyone lives together as much as possible." Saying this, Javelin also saw the ant nest on the ground, and then she said, "Pour hot water on these ants to kill them." Hearing Javelin's words, Sugu had a strange expression. Isn't it said that good ship girls are kind and just? Although he thought this way, he also knew that the likes and dislikes of the ship girl were actually the likes and dislikes of ordinary people when the ship girl awakened from the history and memories contained in the steel. Murder is a sin, so it cannot be done, but some small things that are generally considered not important are still done by Kanji. It's like breaking things and then escaping, pretending to be ghosts and scaring people. In fact, the destroyers have done a lot of pranks like this. The good and evil of ordinary people. In fact, this is also a good thing. The mother's heart is the mother's cancer. For Sugu, ordinary good people can be good people, but bad good people and saints should be forgotten. Then Sugu looked at Javelin's beautiful blue skirt and asked, "Are all your clothes and skirts sewn by Tianho for you?" "Yes, she is very beautiful, but the main thing is that I am beautiful." Although he is their admiral, he might not be recognized outside. At this time, I had such a long conversation with Javelin, and it felt like we were getting to know each other again. Javelin Sugu called out, and then said, "What kind of person do you think I am?" "What kind of person?" "That is to say, compared to everyone else, how is being an admiral?" "Just an average admiral, not a bad feeling. This is normal. I am not a Superman." "You seem to have done something very excessive to Sister Helena, you lustful admiral." "Everyone remembers what they did to Helena, just poke and prod." "Light cruiser, Sister Lincian. She told me that you always call her Dadian, and your behavior makes Sister Lincian very distressed." "Terrible admiral." The Oyado, known as the ship girl who could lift up her skirt, spent countless resources before abandoning the ship, but in the end it was not built. Dadian is difficult to build. Relatively speaking, the light cruiser Lynxian is easy to build, and the two shipmates are very similar. Because of this relationship, Dadian and Lynxian were ridiculed for a time. "You were indifferent to me at the beginning, but now you can't reach me." Affected, he even called Lynxian Dadian when he saw him. Later on, "You arrange expeditions every day and don't care about anything." "Well, you are just too lazy to mention. Anyway, come on, don't expect any good performance from you when the game becomes reality." Sugu said, "Everything will be fine in the future." "Hey, who believes you? This destroyer is so difficult to deal with, so I'd better go to the Queen of Heaven."